Cool, so I want to talk about the Duelist pedal. The Duelist is a dual overdrive pedal, meaning that both sides are completely separate. So it's like having two pedals in one. You can use them either one or the other, or you can use them both together. So they're completely separate and non-connected to each other. Drive A is based on a Tube Screamer circuit, and it's actually based on my personal vintage 808 pedal that I've had for years and years and years, and it's got an amazing sound. So basically in the stock setting it does create that vintage sound, but the pedal's a lot more than that. The pedal allows you to have deep and glass settings. Now these deep and glass settings basically produce either a much fatter tone or a much glassier tone, and the glassier tone can produce a much more tubey, hollow sound, and the deeper sound is in some ways closer to using humbuckers with a Tube Screamer, so it's a much fuller sound. Drive A also has two switches on the inside, and these two switches allow you to further modify the sound, and I'll talk you through those in a moment. And Drive B is based on a Bluesbreaker pedal, and Bluesbreakers are actually very cool sounding pedals. They're quite a lot cleaner than a Tube Screamer, but they're also bassier. So I think it works really well with the string singer side. Each side has very much its own character. What one side may lack, the other side makes up for. So the string singer side is very gritty and tubey, whereas the heavy hand side has a lot of bass and is a little cleaner. So between them, you can kind of get most tones. So I just want to quickly talk about the switches. The switches alter the tone going into the overdrive, and the tone controls alter the tone after the overdrive. And that makes a very big difference. When you drive, let's say if you put it on the glass setting, it's very like using a treble booster before an overdrive, and it'll give you a much more glassy and tubey tone. So I'll quickly talk you through the tones on Drive A. This is the clean sound. This is the glass setting. This is the bass setting. It's got quite a bit more gain than the Tube Screamer, so when the gain is up halfway, it's actually pretty close to full on a normal Tube Screamer, so this actually gives you a lot more gain. So here's what it sounds like with the gain up full. So with the drive all the way down, you actually get pretty much a clean tone, and you can use it as a clean boost. And this is really where the deep and glass settings really show up. Here's the clean sound. So you can hear it really fattens up the sound. In the glass setting, you can really hear the glassiness. Just crank it up just a little bit. So Drive B is great for those kind of fat blues tones. Let's try that on the deep setting. And on the glass setting. Cool, and this is with the gain. I'll turn the gain up full so you can hear how much it's got. So you can hear it has a lot more low end on it than the string singer side. And also again, if we turn it all the way down, you can get a really cool clean boost. This is just with it in the stock setting. So the glass setting actually works really, really well if you're using it as a clean boost. You can get that really kind of bright, clean tone. So let's just try some different sounds. I'll put it on the glass setting, roll the tone down a little bit and just give it quite a bit of drive. So let's try that on the deep setting. So you can hear there's a lot of bass on the bass setting. So obviously the overdrives can be used completely separately, but they actually work really well together. So together you can get a really heavy overdrive sound, and it works really well. One thing about this pedal that's really important to mention is the 4 switches on the inside. Now these switches on the inside allow you to really heavily influence the tone. So basically you take the screws off the back, and on the inside you'll see the circuit board, you'll see a switch here. Now there are the default settings which are marked, and there's a little dot there, and if you set the switches towards the dot, that'll be the default setting. So this is with switch number 1 turned off. Now turn it on. You can hear it. So switch number 2 switches between symmetrical and asymmetrical clipping. And what that basically does, the standard setting will be symmetrical clipping, and that's what, let's say, a tube screamer normally does, or what the output of a tube amplifier when it's overdriven would normally be. It would be symmetrical clipping. However, if you overdrive the preamp tubes of a tube amplifier, the clipping tends to be asymmetrical, or something like a fuzz face, which is asymmetrical. So it gives you a slightly different sound, and it's great to have the option to switch it. You might prefer one or the other. The symmetrical clipping, and this is asymmetrical clipping. You can probably kind of hear a difference in the kind of grit. It is slightly different, and you might prefer one or the other. Symmetrical clipping actually gives you slightly more sustain, but you get a kind of a grit from asymmetrical. So switch number 3 affects channel B, and it adds distortion, and you can really hear that. This is channel B. So this is channel B set with the distortion switch on, and this gives you a lot more distortion. And that's really cool if you want to set it up so drive A is overdrive and drive B is distortion. And with distortion with the deep setting, it's very full on overdrive. So switch number 4 is again asymmetrical and symmetrical clipping for drive B, and it's in its default setting it's symmetrical. So here is the asymmetrical sound. So this is channel B with the asymmetrical clipping set, but it also has a distortion on it as well, and I think these two work really well together. It gives you a really gritty distortion sound. So the pedal runs on a 9-volt power supply or internal battery. So one last thing to say about this pedal is it is true bypass, and not all true bypasses are created equal. Great care was taken to make sure that when the pedal is bypassed, the signal is actually going the shortest possible distance. Some pedals you'll find the signal goes all over the place before it actually gets to the output, even when it's bypassed. So this has a very, very straight and simple signal path, and meaning that when the pedal is bypassed, it's your pure tone and it hasn't affected it in any way.